One, two, three. I won't leave you behind.
Stop in my mind.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the 4-Digit World Cup. My name is Gary McCrillan, and joining me in the casting booth is the lovely Aquatic. You guys are joining us for the second match of 4WC 2026. This is going to be a matchup between Ukraine and Vietnam. So that's it, Aquatic. I mean, let's talk to me. Let's talk about the teams.
Hello, everyone. Fortunately, I'm not too familiar with these players, but this is going to be, let me check the main sheet real quick. I believe it's going to be a D group match up. Seed 16 versus Seed 22. This is going to be a relatively close matchup in terms of the seeding. 22 and 16, of course, they're obviously in a different bracket, but they are still quite close in terms of just that raw seeding right there. Only 8 seeds away from each other. And I'm excited to see how either of these teams perform. I think Vietnam has a very good chance coming into this match, despite being the lower seed, into Ukraine.
Yeah, and I mean, even though we're talking about two teams who in a whole different qualification bracket, it's important to note that, you know, with the nature of low SR, that adds room for a lot of volatility. And it's not like Ukraine or Vietnam are teams that find themselves at the very bottom of the qualification bracket, right? These teams are seed 16 and 22nd. It's not like they barely qualified, so we're definitely expecting them to bring a lot, to at least be competitive on a lower SR, on most of the maps in this lower SR pool. And I think both of these countries are coming into this year's 4-Digit World Cup having it drastically improved their placements from previous years. 4WC is sort of in that very unique space in the World Cup series where, you know, you have enough returning players to paint a solid narrative of the team, and I think Vietnam in particular is a country that has seen a drastic improvement from their performance last year. Already, we're opening up with some very interesting bans. It looks like Ukraine is going to be looking to take out the Nomad 2 very quickly. And rightfully so, if you compare these two teams in their hit-to-hit qualifiers results, you notice that, you know, Vietnam is number 9th on the Nomad 2, and Ukraine is sitting all the way down at 31st. So clearly very large disparity in that comfort in the Nomad 2, and given how this Nomad 2 is really punishing if you're not able to shred its BPM, makes a lot of sense why they want to go out for that, to go for that ban. And on the other hand, it does look like, oh wait, no, it was actually Vietnam who banned out Nomad 2. Forgive me. They banned out the Nomad 2 and the DT3. So in fact, the mechanics comfort, in fact, seems to lie into the hands of Ukraine. But as a response to that, Ukraine banning out both DT1 and DT2, perhaps also suggesting that they themselves aren't the most comfortable on tapping. So, you know, on a whole, I think, Aquatic, we have a very anti-tapping matchup, which I know, I mean, I'm definitely not complaining. I'm not complaining in low SR.
Yeah, certainly. So I think, rather than being uncomfortable on the tapping and mechanics maps for both of these teams, I think what they're trying to avoid is more so the consistency coin flip against their opponents. I mean, like, just looking at the calls result, of course, you've mentioned earlier, Ukraine is seeding at all the way down in 31st for Nomad 2, and despite that, Vietnam still banned out that Nomad 2 anyways. I think it's more so just to avoid the low SR mechanics coin flip that typically happens at this kind of SR in group stages for teams of this caliber, I guess. Do you see that Nomad?
Oh, I think that's yeah, I think that's a wrong select here. It's supposed to be a hidden 2 ban as Vietnam's second ban here. So it's not like we're gonna see all of the tapping maps get banned out this time. Unfortunately, as much as I pray, but but yeah, it looks like that will be shifted over to the hidden 2 for Vietnam. Gimmick band coming in from Vietnam. You're looking at the composition of the bands here, right? And you're seeing Vietnam target both ends of the spectrum both ends of the skill set spectrum. You see them banning out the very stamina intensive Nomad 2, which is one extreme of things, one extreme of the mechanic side, and you also see them banning out this hidden 2, which is very consistency based, very AR8 comfort based, which hits right at the end of the gimmick skill set, or at least what this pool offers in that aspect. So yeah, Vietnam going to instantly jump out with a original select here. This is an original song by the lovely Cryochem and Sugosuki. It's going to be Astro Tether. Number 4 being picked out by Vietnam to kickstart this match.
A banger to start us off. This Nomad 4 is going to feature a lot of those mech techie patterns, if I do remember correctly. 175 BPM is not going to be a very high BPM for these players in the lobby here, but it's gonna still have a lot of those sliders with relatively high slider velocities and existing throughout the entire map. Drain time is going to be just under 3 minutes, 2 minutes and 47 seconds. A very good pick to start us off.
Yeah. I do believe that this was originally an original song for the 3-digit World Cup this year. But, unfortunately, due to some complications with the production, Nick has generously passed this song over to the 4-digit World Cup. And now, for the group stage, you have a very nice original to play with here. This is a phenomenal map by Netsanya and Chiari. And very rightfully so, Aquatic, right? You were talking about high slider velocities to be had on a map like this. And I think, this is sort of the epitome of what you're expecting from a group stage number 4. I think this map has a very nice blend of tapping elements and aim elements as well. It's not like you're seeing big, Azeroth sliders, big Nooch sliders that you typically see in your later stage number 4s. The sliders here are, slightly smaller, but to make up for it, of course, you're expecting to see a lot more integration when it comes to the tapping. Going to be a little bit more flowing into each and every one of these sliders. But I will say that once you've gotten the hang of, the few patterns that this map has, or the rhythm of this map, really, this map is honestly quite laborious in terms of its rhythmic complexity. And ultimately, it's going to be a test of your consistency. Again, the BPM lying at a very comfortable 179, 175 definitely paints the picture of a map that's rather accessible, but perhaps a bit tricky to maintain good accuracy. I think that's what we're going to be looking out for from both of these teams. But that's it. Let's jump straight into the action. Once again, this is a lovely original by Cryochem and Sugosuji. It's going to be Astro Tether, Nomad 4, welcoming us to this matchup.
There, and into the starter key, no early misses so far. Some act drops by Volet, but that is not going to affect the scoreboard too much. But that miss from another guy on Team Vietnam is going to bring the scoreboard in the favor of Ukraine. Still holding onto that 4-way FC. Love Katagiri, another guy finding another mace traded out by Kyrion, but it's still 3 FCs to 2. The accuracy on the side of Ukraine as well.
Indeed, currently, Ukraine has control of that score line. Unfortunately, we can't quite see the hit-to-hit score lines right now, but upon just basic FC counting here, it looks like Vietnam is only sitting with Grape being their lone FC here, whereas Ukraine is bringing the heat with 3 of their own. And moving to the second half of the map, and it really looks like Vietnam just simply don't have an angle back into action. Christerion really, that miss from Christerion is the only equalizing factor as the scoreboard opens. You're looking at a three-way 98-97% act FC coming in from Ukraine, and meanwhile, it's just Grape is matching up to them, no doubt, but there really isn't a lot of legroom. Ukraine really isn't giving Vietnam a lot to work with here, and it's not like they have much to fight back with. Moving to the final KR of the map, and the clock is ticking. I think it might be over already, Aquatic. I think we might see the first breakpoint super early on.
Yeah, I think Ukraine open up this match with a very strong performance. Triple 900 combo as the map is closing down. There's no chance for Vietnam to come back here. Perhaps a low roll, perhaps just a slight misjudge of the opponent, but this no mod 4 is gonna go in the favor of Ukraine. Sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, not the most convincing first pick coming in from Vietnam, but I will say though, I didn't quite manage to, I wasn't quite able to pick up on it before we got onto the map, but this number 4 is a very accessible map in the number pool, right? It's accessible for quite a few reasons. First off, low SR tech is a skill set that I think a lot of tournament players should be able to execute with some level of proficiency naturally, right? As tournament players, it's not like this map heavily leans into a specific style. It's not like, you know, this is a very tapping intensive finger control map. It's not like this is a very aim intensive big slide attack map. Really, it sits it in a comfortable balance between both ends of the spectrum, and you know, overall it comes together to make a map that's rather accessible for every single player in this lobby. Seeing how Vietnam went for this no mod pick super early on instead of something perhaps more polarizing than the DT3, it does, you know, it does kind of suggest that perhaps Vietnam doesn't really have anything that they are extremely confident that they can get easy points on, right? No mod 4 seems like a pick where, you know, that allows them to branch out further later on in the match into other skill sets, such as, you know, perhaps one of the other control maps. But clearly this play didn't quite work out for Vietnam, and you know, they don't really have any leverage to stand on moving into the next pick. But meanwhile, it's going to be up to Ukraine to find their first pick here. They've already had a lot of nice information given to them from this no mod 4 victory, so you know, perhaps perhaps they might be feeling that it's time to move into perhaps, you know, the Fremont 1, which I think is a very close analog, or maybe, you know, and I would do this if I were Ukraine, look to pick into something to open up the map pool, maybe a hidden or a alt map. I think that would be my best guess here. Actually, a Fremont 2 could work, I think.
Funnily enough, I think circling back to the bans from Vietnam, Nomad 2 and HD2 are Ukraine's lowest and second lowest seeded maps in qualifiers respectively.
Oh. Yikes. Oh.
So just an HD3?
Yeah, this is why we're gonna get the HD3 getting picked out. This is, you know, again another alt map as I was sort of trying to gear towards Ukraine picking, and you know, it does look like they will be trying to open up the alt pool. I think there are quite a lot of ways that you can play off a hidden 3 victory, and I think that's what Ukraine's going for here, right? After this hidden 3, you can move into something like a hidden 1. You can move into Fremont 2 if you're feeling especially risky. You can also just go into a no mod 3, right? Just move into more and more alt. And I think, you know, this pool definitely facilitates a lot of this alt or slash control snowball for a team that is strong on control. So yeah, I like this pick coming in from Ukraine. Sitting in the hidden pool as well just gives them a little, it just makes their case look even stronger here, as you know, comparing the hits between both of these countries on the hiddens. You can see a very big disparity, at least in the hidden ones from qualifiers. So yeah, I like this hidden 3 pick.
Of course, Ukraine is picking the spacing off of that no mod 4 performance from Vietnam, and if that is indeed a low roll by them, we could see Vietnam pull off some interesting plays here. They're clearly comfortable on the control skill set, otherwise they would not have gone for that no mod 4 pick, I would assume. Hopefully we get to see some of that prowess here.
Yeah, indeed. I think when we're talking about any of the control maps in this pool, it's important to really differentiate what each alt map in this pool is trying to do, right? I think this no mod 3 sets itself apart from the other maps in the pool because of how much, or because of the micro adjustments that I think this map tests throughout its drain time, right? You're looking at a map that has a rather awkward flow compared to something like the Hidden One, which has a more intuitive flow. I think this map by Asilica is a map where you know you're expecting your curse, you're expecting the rhythm to not so much so align with the patterning that you have to deal with, and it overall comes together to make a map where on Hidden especially, it's very rhythmically dense, and it presents a very interesting reading challenge, I think, throughout the course of this Hidden 3. If you are comfortable on Hidden, I do think that Hidden naturally just makes this map a little bit easier to read, but you know, such is the trade-off of Hidden, where when it becomes easier to read, it also becomes a bit more uncertain, especially when you're trying to be consistent on it. All things considered, though, this is a very short map coming in at 2 minutes and 19 seconds, so gonna likely see very fast score shifts if we were to see Eddie. But that's it. I'm not gonna try to pronounce that name, but we're gonna get into Hidden 3 here.
And the map starts right off with some of those rhythmic patterns that Gammy was mentioning earlier. No one finds any early misses so far. Act drops seem very consistent as well, especially Ukraine still holding that 4-way SS. As I say that, Evil Blanner and Kyrion drops right before that first break. That is going to be advantage to Vietnam early.
Now, that is what you want to see, however. We're already a quarter of the way through, and with that, I mean, Vietnam's lead might be a lot larger than the scoreline might suggest right now, but it's still not out of the woods just yet as we move into the first bout of the KI here. Roulette going to be the next one on the chopping block here. He does bring Criterion down with him, but that's not a new combo that Ukraine is losing here, and now they have survived for another miss to come through from Vietnam. It's going to be great, going to be the next one to go down on that side. And meanwhile, Eva Bolner is slowly but surely growing that recovery here. We're moving into the endings here, and Palma goes down, brings down Relay, but another guy and Hearn are going to in fact push a combo lead against Ukraine here, and I think it's going to be close. Unfortunately, we can't quite see the scores right here at the very ending of that flowing section. We see the drop of Eva Bolner and Relay here, and now it's going to be up to KW versus here, especially as Criterion goes down on the right side of the lobby. Vietnam's here, and unfortunately finds the miss, giving the entirety of the scoreline to KW here, and giving all of the agency in his hands to take the score the distance.
Tech W now holding the line for Ukraine. The lone FC left within the lobby. Has he done enough? It's hard to tell given the amount of recoveries that is on Vietnam, but I think he has done it. Tech W holding on to that 1 million scoring, closing out this AP3. I think that's enough.
I don't. Whoa, it's gonna be close.
It's definitely close.
It's gonna. You're looking at 3-way 600k here from Vietnam. I mean, such is the beauty when the Tosu client explodes, right? We're really kept on the edge of our seats, but it does look like Ukraine will be taking that point here solely because of KW here. Holy crap! 1 mil combo here. That's what we're talking about.
Yep, 1,000 combo and a perfect FC 99.26, an incredible score for KW. And looking at the scoreboard, I do believe that is going to be Ukraine's pick.
Yeah, I mean that previous map was. Wait, it was right. It was.
Surely,
The text is so small. Yeah, that was Ukraine's pick on the Hidden 3. She says it's going to be up to Vietnam to try to find another angle back into this matchup. Really, it's very difficult for Vietnam here, right, to pinpoint anything with the exception of Nomad 1 and Hard Rock 1 because of how similar at least the remaining maps in this pool are to each other, right? There is so much control to be had on a pool like this, especially considering that both of these teams banned out so many mechanics maps. And Vietnam, of course, taking out a gimmick map here. There's a lot of control to be desired. And currently, it just seems as though Ukraine is really holding a monopoly on all the control maps. You can't go for No Mod 3, Hard Rock 2, Hard Rock 3, Free Mod 1, and Free Mod 3 because all of these sit in that genre of control here for Vietnam. So it's very difficult for them to try to find anything. And to the point where, I frankly think that I frankly think that you need to go for the only map that they can go for where they are not at a disadvantage would be Dino 1 or Hard Rock 1. But it does look like I think they will be picking into the DT3, so the only remaining tapping map left in the pool.
Yep, Vietnam, just looking at pure stats, is going to be pretty favored on that pure mechanics. Look at that, number 1 on DT1 and quite relatively higher seeding on the DT2 and DT3. While if we look at Ukraine, they are going to be also pretty well adjusted on the DTs, especially the DT3s actually. But hey, Vietnam left this open for a reason. Ukraine has shown that they would struggle on something like more stamina intensive, like the No Mod 2 from qualifiers. I assume DT3 is slightly
this DT3 is a weird one, right? It's a Kendrick Lamar song, and there is a lot of it's not stamina, it's like awkward rhythms, it's high BPM alt. You could call it feeling control, because of the variance of the rhythms, but I think this map is definitely a map that plays a lot on its density. And this is a very, very short map, very, very volatile map, and the intensity really is taken all the way up. It might not look like it without DT, but trust me, with DT, this map is really explosive and very, very messy. So, I still, again, it's difficult to make a case for Vietnam currently because they are currently the lower seeded team and they have lost on every single control map thus far. This DT3 really fits in that similar ballpark, right? It is all about fast adjustments. This one is a more reading intensive control map as well. And, on a whole, if we are just comparing the head-to-head performances when it comes to control, it just seems as though Ukraine is a lot stronger at that. But it is important to remember that Hidden 3 was simply won by just KW, which, perhaps suggests that maybe Ukraine aren't as generally strong on the controls as the scoreline might present them to be. But with that said, we're going to move into Scoreboard by Kendrick Lamar. Let's move into DT3.
This map is going to be the shortest map in the pool with a drain time of just under 2 minutes, 1 minute and 43 seconds. So any of these early misses is going to matter a lot. And as I'm saying that, Mange Kyo is going to find a few misses and Violet is going to trade it back.
Yeah, currently, it is smooth sailing for the rest of the combos in the lobby right now. We're looking at a 3 FC to 2 FC difference between Ukraine and Vietnam as of right now, but Mangekyo is continuing to find misses. That is concessions for Vietnam here as they give a little bit more time for their recoveries in Voulet and Grape to get back into the game as Hiran and another guy stand their ground. We're moving to the second half of the map here. A little bit more, a little bit more open section of the map, but we're moving straight back into the control here, and Grape is going to lose his combo, giving Mangekyo a little bit of breathing room when it comes to the recovery here, really just having to match up the Voulet at this point. But really, what you are looking for, right, if you are a fan of Vietnam, is one of the big 3 FCs on the side of Ukraine to go down, because, they can hold as long as they want. Mangekyo can miss as much as Vietnam wants, but it doesn't matter as the 3 FCs still hold strong, and Voulet unfortunately finds a miss. That is going to be one going down from the side of Ukraine as Criterion finds the miss here, and it does mean that we will be seeing an equal FC trade here, but I'm not too sure if that's going to be enough, as that was a very late miss, and as the scoreboard comes in, we will see. I do think that Ukraine comes out on top of that one, though. Mangekyo might have struggled a lot on that map, but it seems as though Ukraine was able to brave through their 4-player syndrome here with the 3 very, very strong scores.
Yeah, I think that is it. Criterion, despite the miss at the end, they still managed to hold out 950k, and I do believe that offsets Roulette and Grape's score, despite the underperformance from Ukraine. And that is going to be a very strong start to this match from Ukraine. Best of 9 matches are truly, they're just sometimes like this, man.
Yeah.
You get that early advantage, you get that first 3 points, like you get that early break points, and suddenly you're 1 point away from match point, and the opponent has absolutely nothing on the board.
Yeah, and Ukraine has so many ways that they can play this end game, right? They can go for the no mod 3, they can go for, you know, again, a free mod 1, a free mod 3. I personally think that free mod 1 is a very good shout here. And, you know, if they want to stick to some classic alternate, right, they still have the hidden 1, they still have the no mod 3 at their disposal. If they want to, you know, give KEKW another chance to shine on one of the control maps, you know, hidden 1 is staring them in the face here, so... Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult because it just seems as though Ukraine is playing in a whole different weight class compared to Vietnam, and it's difficult for them to really find any sort of leg room, any sort of leg to stand on in this kind of matchup. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you gotta still look at the rest of that free mod pool as well. Just from the looks of HD3 at least, it seems that Ukraine certainly has their HD carries down very strong with KEKW's score from earlier. We do see a free mod 2 come out from Ukraine, understandable, as the HD2 was banned out by Vietnam. They're going to try to exploit that gimmick weakness a little bit here.
Yeah, this is a rather unique pool, unique pick for this pool. This is a old map anti-mod here. Map stats wise, it's a very standard anti-mod map, very standard free mod 2. It's gonna be CS5, it's gonna be AR8, so you got the CS 6.5 for the hard rock players and the AR8 hidden for the hidden players here. And on a whole, really, that's all you can really say about a map like this, right? This map was made in 2009. I believe that was like a year after I was born, so you know, it just gives you perspective to the kind of map that we are dealing with here. And of course, with the map, with the SR only being 8.85, you can already expect that to be absolutely fake, especially when we throw the mods into the mix. But yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how these two teams fare on a map like this. Not necessarily a skill set that we've seen being tested thus far. I mean, the closest analogs that we can draw are the Hard Rock 2 and the Hidden 2 having been banned, and Hard Rock 2 not being a particularly popular pick in general. So yeah, I think this is very different from all the control maps that we've seen thus far. And in fact, very different from a lot of the free mod 2s that we are used to seeing in tournaments. In particular, Aquatic, I am interested to see if we will be seeing anyone take easy, especially because the easy multiplier for this tournament is rather large, coming in at 2 times. So, yeah, let's see how it goes.
Be interesting, but just looking at the qualifiers performance on the HD2, it doesn't seem that either team has anyone particularly comfortable on the lower ARs, with both teams seeding relatively low for their seeds on the HD2s during qualifiers. It'd be a pretty big surprise if anyone here in this lobby is taking that easy preference for FEMA 2.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. And really, if you're Vietnam here, you gotta try to find anything that you have on a match like this, right? I think this map in particular is very favored towards the no-mod player. And naturally, you know, the plight of the no-mod player is going to put a lot of pressure on that anchor to really bring that scoreline together. This looks like we will be seeing an easy coming in from two players from Vietnam and Ukraine. It's going to be Evil Ballner and Hotcat190 taking the easy mods for their respective countries. And I think these will be very important assets for both of their teams. In addition to, of course, the no mod players in Criterion and Hearn when it comes to, or Hearn when it comes to being the anchor for the team. But that's it, very smooth sailing to the free mod 2, but this map definitely ramps up very quickly. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm immediately eating my words here with 2 easies on the board. But while that is happening, we do see some early misses from Criterion. The only miss in the lobby so far. Easies are holding still. Vietnam still holding onto a 4-way FC into this the start of this key eye. A lot of these very wide angle patterns that you see a lot in these older style mapping maps. Still no trades from Vietnam. The advantage is gonna keep going towards their side with the 4-way FC still, but any misses right now could spell doom for them. We are 1/3 of the way into this map already though.
I will say that the accuracies from Vietnam are looking very, very strong. So that's also another thing to take note of. But what is accuracy when they just can't find any form of combo here? Another guy in Kazakh, the top row of Vietnam, 5 misses at the exact same time. Yes, they bring down Criterion, but that's not who you need to go down, especially as Hawkcat190 is going to be the next one on the topping block for Vietnam. He brings down Culebra with him, but KW and Evil Born are still holding strong. The Easy and the Hard Rock. And right now, the pressure is crushing for the no mod anchor of Vietnam. He's doing his job, he's trying his best, but it's not going to be enough to stand in the face of 2 coming in from Ukraine here as the map only continues to ramp up in difficulty. That stream is going to catch KW off guard by no fault of himself. That's a very, very difficult stream to hit, especially on Hard Rock, which means that it's going to be up to Evil Borner to try to anchor the Ukrainian scoreline in the face of Hyun's very, very strong performance on the no mod here. Still holding the SS, moving into the final melody of this map. Evil Borner trying to find some angle back into the game for Ukraine here. But Vietnam is hot on their tail, hungry for the scoreline right now with that triple 300 combo recovery.
See another trade come out from Kazakh versus Cooler. But Evil Boner is going to be the performer for Ukraine, finally finding that break. But have they done enough? 430k. That's going to translate to around 880k. Almost assessing with the easy. But here, being able to match that on the no mod, completely offsetting that easy score. And you cannot forget about Hotcat's multiplier as well. That is going to be an incredibly close scoreline. And I think Vietnam is going to take it instead.
Yeah, Vietnam in fact takes this 3-2 pick, and that's why I was a bit skeptical about this this 3-2 pick from the very beginning, right? Because it's not something that we've seen thus far in this matchup, and given how Ukraine has such an easy pool of maps to pick from, they've won on that no mod 4, they've won on that hidden 3. Why not just go for something in that control ballpark where you've exemplified very strong dominance in the control? Why go for something like a free mod 2 when you realistically only need 1 to guarantee you at least a tiebreaker and put you to match point? I'm a bit hesitant I'm a bit hesitant about that free mod 2 pick, and it does seem as though Vietnam will be taking the opportunity to get back into the game. I do believe that Ukraine is still a breakpoint up on Vietnam, so they're not anywhere near out of the clear just yet, but of course they need to win their own pick first. Let's see what they go for here. Maybe we see another free mod from them.
That'd be very interesting. I mean, the HR pool is also entirely untouched by either of these teams. Could see some HR1 aim mechanics action.
Maybe a hidden, maybe a HR2. I think maybe a HR2. I mean, that free mod 2 does have a precision element to it. You do have to take the hard rock as one of their mods, and perhaps they're looking to bounce off that confidence from the free mod 2 and go into the hard rock 2.
Lewis. Fremont won.
Huh, so, last time we saw Vietnam go for this No Mod 4 pick, which was a very standard hybrid tech pick, and this time we're seeing them go for the other hybrid tech map in this pool. I do think that this map is a bit more mechanical in nature. Map clocks in at 55 BPM faster than the No Mod 4 that we saw before, but this map is different from the No Mod 4 in the slider intensity, right? Where the No Mod 4 that we saw just now was a little bit more placed a little bit more emphasis on the aim side with the slider density and whatnot. This map definitely ramps it up a notch when it comes to the mechanical aspect of it. You expect to see longer bursts, expect to see most of the density not coming from sliders, but more so coming from circle density, right? Circle tech is the name of the game for this free mod 1, and even though it is rather mixed in terms of its aim and tapping, I do think that this map places more focus on the left hand skill set as opposed to the right hand.
Once again, another mech techy map that's not mech tech sounding map, at least. It's not quite up there in the BPMs. Another very accessible BPM being at 180. Another thing I do need to mention with this map, though, this is going to be the second shortest map in the entire pool. We saw earlier with DT3, the 1 minute 43 drain time map earlier, but this time this is going to be a minute 58. Sorry, the third shortest drain time. Once again, just under 2 minutes, but with something with a map as short as this, early misses is going to matter a lot more for these teams here.
Yeah, indeed. As of right now, we're just waiting for them to get into the action. I wonder what we'll see from the free mod lineups here. Likely won't be seeing it easy, I suppose, from both of these teams. And I think, again, a lot of emphasis is going to be placed on the no mod players. I think this is also a map that favors the hidden player a little bit more if you had to pick a mod. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 2 hiddens instead of 2 hard rocks coming out from them. Does look like Ukraine will be doing just that with the double hiddens, and Vietnam will be doing the same here with Grape and Kazazaic, both of them taking the hiddens here. That's it. We're off to the races with this hidden one instantly. It's all about the mechanics. It's all about these very long 180 BPM bursts here, and currently Ukraine is holding the lead.
Yeah, it seems this is a much more HD favored map here, with both teams having the double HD mod on their team. Criterion and another guy on the HR. This map is gonna have a lot of those wiggle patterns and relatively longer streams. It's gonna be quite difficult to hit consistently on the HR given the lower increased CS. Sorry. No breaks so far. Actually, I take that back. Another guy and Grape are going to find a few early combo drops, while Ukraine still holding on to that 4-way FC.
Yeah, currently those early misses is what's giving Ukraine this security going into the late game. But the scoreline is still very tenuous. It's currently just a tightrope walk, right? There's a lot of tension between both of these players right now, but that tension has eased as another guy unfortunately finds a miss. That's going to be a large recovery for the Vietnam going down. Pimba does find a miss, does lose his FC alongside Porma, in fact, at this point. So, in fact, Ukraine is actually at a combo disadvantage here, as Great is now the X factor for Vietnam to get them back into the game. There is enough time to be had, especially as Criterion finds another miss, another one to add to the toll, which means that Hiran and Kazaic are beating down on KW here. KW manages to outlast Kazaic here. So now, once again, just going to be Hiran and KW into the very end. It's going to be so close. And unfortunately, we can't quite see the score, so we just have to wait for the calculator to speak.
It's once again going to go towards
Vietnam.
The recovery combos on their team has held out for long enough, and that's yet another point for Vietnam to take back the score.
And that was a lead by 64k. That's a 64k score difference between both of these teams. I mean, I think this victory on the Fremont one definitely gives a lot more insight, a little bit more perspective as to why Vietnam went for that no mod 4 pick at the very beginning of this match, right? I mean, they are a team that can perform well on the no mod 4s. Perhaps that no mod 4 performance was just not them feeling it, not their best work, not them at their most confident, but they most definitely redeemed themselves with this no mod, with this Fremont one, and in fact, makes it a little bit dangerous for Ukraine going into this stage of the match, right? Because now Vietnam has reclaimed some of that territory on control, so Ukraine can't just pick into control all willy-nilly here. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Ukraine in fact try to find something on the no mod 5 this time round. I mean, we saw them dabble into the free mod 2 before. Didn't quite work out for them very well, but that was also a modded map. That's so. Yeah, you know, with a whole different genre of gimmick being tested in World 5, that might be something that Ukraine want to try picking into. Alternatively, you know, you still have the entire hard rock pool open, and which I think Aquatic and I have been dancing around this entire cast up to this point. So it's definitely an angle for Ukraine to go for if they want to try to claim some open territory here.
Yeah, if we're looking at control, Nomad 3 and HR3 are still there, and as I'm talking about that, Nomad 3 gets picked by Ukraine.
Yep, number 3 is going to be the next map that we'll be seeing. And, you know, this is something I expected Ukraine to go for in their previous pick instead of the free mod 2, right? Because Ukraine has been showing a lot of comfort when it comes to the control maps in this pool. You know, you're looking at that DT3, looking at that no mod 5 and that hidden 3. So naturally, right, it just makes a lot of sense for me to for them to go for something in that control ballpark. And something that's strictly control. I think this no mod 3 in this pool is the epitome of, you know, aim control. This is a custom map by the lovely Ejimoska. I believe that's how you pronounce their name. And overall, you know, this is a very intense snap alt map for 2 minutes and 39 seconds. A few flowing patterns to be had here and there, but at the end of the day, those are just flavor text. And the main skill set of this map is definitely just going to be, you know, being consistent on the incessant snap alt that this map throws at you.
Yeah, given how many flowing maps given how many flow maps there are in the rest of this pool, a snap alt Nomad 3 certainly makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is pretty similar to the DT3, but you know, this Nomad 3 is a lot more generic in that sense. So you know, it's a lot more normal. Where DT3 was a bit more dense in nature, and you know, it also had the element of rhythm into it. I think this Nomad 3 is a lot more standard and a lot more straightforward in its testing of snap alt, and also a lot more intense, I think, than the DT3. The jumps are big.
Yeah, but that does mean that this is going to test a bit of a different ballpark of control than the other control maps we've seen. I mean, of course, DT3 has gone to Ukraine, if I do remember correctly. So just basing off of that, the only other relatively similar map in the pool compared to this Nomad 3, Ukraine does seem to be advantageous on this Nomad 3.
And here we are, Don't Believe in Tea. Once again, huge shouts to Ajimoska and for this lovely map, and Jameson for being the hit sounder for this map here. Already you get to see what it's all about, right? already. It's all gonna be about the snap aim patterns coming to attack these players. Already some early misses on the board from Poma, another guy, and here in 3 FCs to Ukraine compared to Vietnam's 2, giving them the early lead at that. But it's gonna take a while before we see more blood spilling. A first dish spike coming in, and it looks like everybody is cruising through it. We're moving straight into the first drop right here.
No one caught on that wiggle pattern right before the Ki, but right as the Ki starts, an FC drops on Grape, and the recovery on another guy is going to go down as well. Hotcat's last remaining FC for Vietnam is gone, and now Kulebra and KW, the 2 FCs for Ukraine, is just gonna take this score lead all the way to home, and some more. Palma and Criterion also holding on to a very strong recovery, but that's the 2 FCs breaking almost simultaneously. A disaster has struck Ukraine, and as all the FCs are now gone from this lobby, Palma holding on to a great recovery, but that is now being matched by Hiern, and Criterion now has to offset 2 of the recoveries on the side of Vietnam. Ukraine's score lead that was looking so comfortable earlier is no longer as comfortable as they would like to be. Yet another guy's gonna miss right on that break section. Hotcat dropping as well. Now it's Grape and Hiern versus Criterion. Palma and Grape drops their large recovery as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, we were talking about how, you know, it wasn't looking too good. It wasn't looking too secure for Ukraine here, but as Vietnam has lost 1, 2, and 3 of their recoveries, it just gives them it builds more and more of a case for Ukraine here. The combined efforts of KW, Kulebra, and Criterion do seem like it's going to be enough to topple the likes of Hiern's FC right now. Kulebra might find a miss here, which doesn't mean that it is still competitive. It is still close for Vietnam. Unfortunately, we can't know for sure as the scoreline is just simply not available to us. And you know, as we move into the ending sections of the map, another guy and Hawkcat 190 are building up that recovery to fight back against Criterion and KXW's attempts at bringing that scoreline back. We're moving to the last sections of the map, the last seconds of the map, and a winner for this No. 3 will be crowned very, very soon. What's it gonna be? It's gonna be Ukraine. It's gonna be Ukraine.
Oh my god, despite the FC choke, the reverse choke from here, and Ukraine has taken that point. The recoveries were enough. They have held down for long enough in this No. 3 to take this point, now putting themselves in a very, very good position at match point.
Yep, they have won their own pick here, which means that every pick from this point on is a potential game-ending scenario for Vietnam. And you know, what does Vietnam go for here? You know, I really don't know. I really don't know what kind of angle they can play into apart from the aim picks. Although I will say Vietnam did a very good job at competing for that. For the control picks, they've definitely earned their way back into the match. But it does look like they will be picking out the Fremont 3, yet another Fremont map gonna be coming out for Vietnam. And you know, both of the points that they've won thus far this matchup were on the Fremont. So what's one more to add to the mix here? This Fremont 3 is super interesting. I'm so happy that we get to see this from Vietnam.
Once again, another one of those maps that's relatively low drain time, 1 minute and 55 seconds.
I think a lot of the maps in this pool are very, very short, which I'm very, very grateful for. Thank you, Pullers. Thank you, Pez. Thank you, Pez.
Relatively, I think it's just that this match in particular just happened to pick the 3 shortest maps, the 3 maps below 2 minutes.
Yeah, big fan of us casters, but yeah, this is a map by HoloWings. Of course, it's a Fangen map set, but this diff in particular is mapped by HoloWings. And if you're familiar with HoloWings mapping in any capacity, you know HoloWings maps based off large mapping concepts. I think Pishif has a very good video on this, where he basically explains that HoloWings' process when it comes to mapping maps is always concept first and then song second. HoloWings thinks of a concept and then finds a song that would allow her to express her mapping concepts well. And you know, this map is no exception, and overall it comes together to create a map that's very interesting, especially when you throw mods into the mix. Expect to see a lot of wide angles, but also expect to see a lot of large sliders that constantly throw your cursor around the map. This map features a lot of fast kicking sliders, but not fast in the tech way, fast in the fact that, you know, it literally displaces your cursor, making it uncomfortable for you. Not to mention, when we get into the KIs, you're expecting to see a lot of wide angle slider jumps coming to attack you, and you know, there might even come some point where you might need to sacrifice a little bit of accuracy in order to maintain a little bit more stability and control over your combo. And of course, when you throw mods into the mix, right, the hard rock players I actually think will be a little bit better off, considering that this map is only circle size 3, so it gets bumped up to about 4.6 CS if I'm not mistaken, which is not the craziest thing in the world. But meanwhile, you know, the hidden players on the other side of the coin, I think, are gonna struggle a little bit more, because when a map, you know, has very fast sliders, very large sliders in particular, and constantly throws your cursor around, you want to try to get as much, you know, cursor stability, take as much control as your cursor positioning as possible. And this is just made all the more difficult when you can't see the circles in front of you. But already we're jumping straight into the action, so that's it. Let's move on to a rousing free mod 3 by Hollowings.
Immediately, some early misses come out. Another guy, a great Criterion here, and all dropping their FCs. And now it's 3 FCs to essentially 1 recovery only. The early advantage can go towards Ukraine, and as I said earlier, the very short drain time of this map is going to favor these, the less misses. Whichever team gets less misses. And looking at the start, Vietnam is not looking great.
As of right now, we are in a down KI section, so nothing too much happening here. But I will say, you know, oh, that miss from here, and it's not gonna do Vietnam any favors here. It is traded up by Criterion over here, and now Evil Born as well, which means that Vietnam actually come out on top in that exchange. And you know, was it a Bancho miss from here, as he is right back into the game with his combo intact. And now KW and Epima trying to hold the fort right now. I do believe that they are still ahead in terms of that total score, but perhaps not for long, as Evil Borna continues to find misses, whereas Vietnam continuing to go up right now. Evil Borna just can't seem to find any sort of edge of ground. And meanwhile, you know, all the recoveries are in play for Vietnam on side of another guy here, and Kozaic. And right now, it's just going to be Criterion on the back foot, on the recovery here for Ukraine, as KW and Epima try so desperately to hold on to the scoreline. Kozaic is going to find a miss, and that is going to stop the bleeding for Vietnam. But such a short map is, in fact, going to swing in favor of the right side at the very last second. And Vietnam has one more in them.
Oh my lord. I don't know if that was shown on the stream, but that was such a last minute flip over towards the side of Vietnam. What an incredible recovery combo hold by all 4 of these players on the side of Vietnam. Epina and whoever was in Ukraine's #1 slot, trying their darnest to hold on to their FCs, but it was just not enough.
Yeah, you know, Vietnam, a very, very well fought battle, and it just seemed as though, right, when I can't quite remember who it was now. It eludes me. But in the KI, you know, when they were just struggling to get any sort of consistent combo on the board, no matter how hard their 2 FCs tried in the top row, it just wasn't enough to get them back into the game. And that really speaks to, you know, the importance of roster diversity, the importance of roster consistency amongst all your 4 players. We saw Ukraine sort of get away with it in a few maps here and there, but it seems as though they could not run from it this time around the free mod 3, and the combined efforts of all 4 players from Vietnam was enough to keep them out, or enough to lock them out of this free mod 3. And with that, they've won all 3 free mods.
Well. I mean, Vietnam closing out these free mod maps in style. Ukraine still having the advantage, of course, but I believe that was the Vietnam pick that Fremont threw earlier. So it is going to be Ukraine's pick now. The ball is in their hands. They go for that HR3.
You be. Oh, it is a HR3. Yeah. HR3 is going to be coming out from them, and this is going to be the first hard rock map that we see in the tournament. But you know, similar to a lot of the maps that we've been seeing Ukraine pick into, this is also yet another control map. This map clocking in at 139 BPM is yet another, you know, alternate heavy map. I do think that this map, however, is rather similar to what we saw from the Hidden 3. I do think Hidden 3 is faster, so not the closest analog here, but, you know, expect to see a map that features a lot of circle density throughout its drain.
Go over some of that map stats now. HR3 BPM at a very low 139 actually. Drain time relatively long for this pool now. The other side of some of the free mod maps that we've seen so far. Just under 3 minutes, 2 minutes and 56 seconds. CS 5.2, AR10, OD10 as expected of HR.
Yeah, and I think overall this is a pick that makes a lot of sense if you're Vietnam here, right? Not Vietnam's part of me. Ukraine here. You've won on basically every single alt heavy control pick. You've really just been only losing out on the free mods, and there are no hard alt maps in the free mod pool. So, you know, if you're following the trend, if you're following the momentum or the flow of your picks here, I mean, why not just go for another control map? There's so many control maps to pick from in this pool. There's so many alt maps to pick from in this pool. So naturally, I feel like this Hard Rock 3 is a very sensible pick here. You've seen the good luck, have fun in chat, and we should be off the races very soon. But of course, it's important to note, right, that Vietnam, they want to take this to tiebreaker. They have to beat Vietnam on. They have to beat Ukraine on a pick that isn't free mod. So we'll have to see how that bodes for them. But for what it's worth, you know, at the end of these 3 minutes, we either see Ukraine walk away as the winners of this match, or Vietnam bringing us the distance and going to tiebreaker.
Course, just looking at the free mod performances before, the solo HR players that typically has to play on either of these teams, if we just compare the HR players, I believe Vietnam does take the edge on that. But now on HR3 and HR pick, everybody needs to take that HR mod, and now that roster diversity is really going to come into play now. Whichever team has the stronger overall HR roster is going to be on top. And I mean, if Ukraine has gone for this pick, it's clear that they certainly have something up their sleeves, as they do not find any, as no one finds any early misses actually from either of these teams on these wiggle patterns. Let's see if that stays the same as we get into the first key eye.
As you say that, another guy is going to be the first one to go down in the lobby here. It's still early on in the map, however, there is definitely a lot of room for the players of Ukraine to find misses here, and this map is by no means easy to be consistent on. A lot of, you know, erratic jumps, a lot of fast cursor movements being demanded from you, a lot of agility being demanded by you, and, you know, with the smaller CS of this map, definitely doesn't make things easier. But Vietnam is going to be the one finding the misses this time around, as Hawkcat and Grape both find misses here, leaving Hyun on his lonesome. I feel like we've seen this story being painted time and time again in this matchup. It's always Hyun being the one who has to anchor, who has to do the dirty work for Vietnam here. But this time, you know, it really does seem as though it's just David versus Goliath, and the Goliath here being 4 members of the Ukrainian cavalry here, all staring Hyun down, surrounding him like sharks moving to the second half of the map. I mean, it's only going to continue to go up. Gulabra finally goes down, managing to soften the blow by just a little bit, but where is the recovery from Vietnam to capitalize?
W drops as well, and Palmer drops as well. Oh, on a relatively slow section as well. Now it's just Criterion to offset here, and if they do find that miss, and I mean, there's still a third of the map left. There is still breathing room for Vietnam. The window of opportunity hasn't closed quite yet. The recovery combos from another guy and Grape are also putting in work. But the early FCs from Ukraine is a task to make up for. Criterion versus here. Whoever one of these FCs drops first is going to spell doom for the team that drops it. The KEKW finds another miss, so does Kulebra, but that is not the combos that that is important for either of these teams. The recovery is building up. The score lead is slowly inching over towards Vietnam, but it is just not enough as Ukraine takes this last HR 3-point and closes this match out 5-3.
Yeah. I think on the whole, Aquatic, we were definitely expecting this to be a massacre coming in from Ukraine, right? I think we saw the first few maps come through, and we definitely expected Vietnam to really struggle playing against Ukraine during this matchup. But it really did seem as though Vietnam perhaps identified a weakness coming in from Ukraine, and which is what I think allowed them to really put up a very solid fight against Ukraine. It's not very often that you see a team that's in fact favored on a free mod. It's a very awkward thing to have a advantage over, or comparative advantage over. But Vietnam came absolutely packing on every single free mod, and you know, their 3 points were all free mod picks, which is a very, very interesting statistic to look at. But unfortunately, they were only able to get points on the free mod, and fortunately Ukraine will be putting a stop to the story or the narrative that Vietnam was trying to paint. Fortunately, they will be denying the tiebreaker this time round, and with that, that's going to be the first map of Group D out of the way. Ukraine taking a point over Vietnam and, you know, securing themselves their first point on the board. So if that's it, congratulations to Ukraine. Any last words from you, Aquatic, before we close things off?
None from me, Gamili.
Yeah, so that's it. I mean, before we go, I'd like to shout out our lovely partners for the 4-digit World Cup. It's going to be the lovely Desu Life, Yobimo Entertainment. Oh, wait, hold up. Yeah, it's going to be the lovely Desu Life, Yobimo Entertainment, and Slider Pals. Thank you to the three of them for being our lovely partners in terms of helping us out, make the map pool as good as it can be, as well as sponsoring our lovely prizes for the 4-digit World Cup. It would not have been possible without the three of them. Do check them out if you are interested on our. I believe they should be on our forum post. Or otherwise, you can check out our socials for more details on our lovely partners as well. But with that said, that's gonna be it from me and Aquatic. I do believe that we have a match happening at 18 UTC. I do believe Aquatic, you're gonna be in for that one as well. So
Oh boy.
yeah, you have your work cut out for you. But that's it. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the 4-digit World Cup 2026. My name has been Gami Krilla. His name has been Aquatic. Do check out the second stream on the second Project Hexagon stream. I do believe that Estonia versus Hong Kong might still be underway. It looks like they're 3-4 right now. In fact, it's Estonia, the C40 team, being the one threatening match point. So do head on over to the other stream if you are interested. But until then, my name has been Gami Krilla. His name has been Aquatic, and we will see you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.